Scorsese and De Niro, Burton and Depp, Spielberg and Hanks, and then there's John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. In 1986, we got their fourth team up in the action comedy Big Trouble in Little China. We'll take a look back at this action comedy on the next Back to the Feature.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
The movie opens with a man named Egg Shen being questioned by a lawyer about a recent incident in Chinatown where half a city block exploded in green fire. The lawyer wants to blame it all on Jack Burton, but Egg says that Jack's a damn hero. Then we jump to the opening credits where we're introduced to Jack Burton himself, played by Kurt Russell. He's an over-the-road truck driver with a truck named the Pork Chop Express. I kid you not. During the credits, Jack is running his mouth, cracking wise into his CB radio. You could tell instantly that Jack is a scoundrel, a rascal, and a bit of a rogue. He pulls his rig into Chinatown where he grubs and gambles with the locals. They play all night long and Jack wins big. By morning, only Jack and his friend Wang are still playing though. And since Jack won so much, Wang challenges him to one last double or nothing bet. He bets that he can split a bottle in two with his blade. Jack takes the bet and big shocker, Wang blows it. Now he owes Jack a bunch more money. Wang tries to convince Jack to come by later to collect, but Jack wants paid now. Wang gives in but says he has to go to the airport first, so Jack drives him. If Jack had been just a bit more patient about collecting his money, he'd have saved himself some big trouble in Little China. See what I did there? During the ride to the airport, we learn that Wang is picking up a young woman named Miao Yin from China who happens to be his fiancée. While they wait at the terminal, Jack spots a pretty woman waiting in the crowd. Wang tells Jack that she's trouble. But Jack likes trouble, especially when she's played by Cattrall. Jack tries hitting on her, but a group of thugs shoves past him. Jack goes to confront them, but she stops him because she recognizes them as a street gang called the Lords of Death. With a dark name like Lords of Death, you'd think they wouldn't be wearing such stupid sunglasses. Trouble greets her friend Tara just as Wang and Miao Yin see each other. Jack gets in a minor scuffle with a couple of the gang members, while the third one uses the commotion as a distraction to kidnap Miao Yin right in front of Wang. Then it's a big party in the parking garage. Trouble and Tara race in and hide behind a van as the Lords of Death dudes run out with their kidnapped victim in tow. Bringing up the rear is Jack and Wang. The girls take off in the van while Jack and Wang are almost ran over by the Lords of Death as they flee in a red Pontiac Firebird. A bright red Firebird doesn't really scream Lords of Death, does it? Jack and Wang hop into the truck and are in hot pursuit of the kidnappers. They follow them back to the club where they hang out, and they drive into the alley, but they have to stop halfway down for a funeral procession. While they're stopped, they find themselves surrounded by a bunch of guys in black carrying all sorts of weapons. Turns out they're not there for Jack because they suddenly attack the funeral procession. So all the guys in black kill all the people in white, and then a bunch more guys all dressed in tan come out to fight the guys in black. Wang calls it a Chinese standoff. It's like the end of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Jack and Wang caught in the middle. Eventually someone yells, and then they all charge at each other. Everyone was kung fu fighting. It goes on forever as they seem pretty evenly matched with both sides taking losses. In the middle of the chaos, a bright ball of light appears in the alley and a man in a funky straw hat comes flying out. Both armies go scrambling together in fear. Then another dude floats down from nowhere, and finally a bolt of lightning hits the ground and stays there as a third dude comes down holding onto the lightning like it was a rope. The three dudes stand there like the three amigos as the fighters start shooting at them. Jack and Wang watch as the bullets have no effect on them. Yeah, Jack, this is the big trouble that the title tried to warn you about. Wang and Jack have seen enough of this crazy shit, and Jack hits the gas. The three storms, as these guys are called, easily slide out of the way of the oncoming rig. But out of nowhere, a fourth guy appears in the way, and he doesn't even try to move. He kisses the front grille of the rig pretty hard and gets ran over. Wang tells Jack that he just hit Lo Pan, but when Jack jumps out of the rig, he sees Lo Pan standing in the alley unharmed. Lo Pan may look unharmed, but he's plenty pissed. His nose starts twitching, and then a bright light comes out of his eyes and mouth, blinding Jack. Wang comes in a little late with some sage advice telling Jack not to look at the light. Jack could have used that advice about 30 seconds earlier, Wang. They take off down the side alley and they're able to escape, but Jack has to leave his beloved truck behind. Back at the safety of the family restaurant, Jack is on the phone arguing with his insurance company when Trouble walks in. Yep, except her real name is Gracie Law. Think of her as the Lois Lane of Chinatown. She tells Wang that his fiancée is going to be sold by the White Tigers. Since that would make it difficult for Wang to marry her, they decide to go and buy Miao Yin back themselves. It's pointed out, though, that since she has green eyes, it's going to be double the price. Wang, Gracie, and Jack pull up to the local brothel in a pink Cadillac, the most conspicuous car you could use. Jack goes inside with a bit of a disguise that kind of reminded me of his character in the movie Used Cars. While Jack is trying to bullshit his way into the White Tigers auction, he gives himself away when he mentions he's looking for a girl with green eyes. Suddenly, the whole block starts shaking and a green ball of light appears above the building. Everyone panics and runs for the doors, and we see Miao Yin tied to a bed. The roof opens up and the three storms drop in. One goes after Miao Yin while the other two stand guard in the hallway where Jack is. You can tell he's tired of them by now because he just walks up to the first one and punches him in the face. Jack gets knocked on his ass for his effort while the lightning dude takes off through the roof with Miao Yin with his two storm buddies close behind. With that plan down the crapper, they all convene back at Gracie's office to regroup. They deduce that Miao Yin has been taken back to Lo Pan, who uses the Wing Kong Trading Company as his HQ.
The Wing Kong Exchange? The most dangerous cutthroat den of madmen in Chinatown. You can't just waltz in and out of there like
the wind.
Sounds kind of dangerous, so Jack decides to go with him. Wang and Jack walk into the lobby, pretending to be telephone repair guys by simply carrying a telephone. They bum rush right past security and head to the basement where they find a hidden elevator that starts to fill up with water. They're able to swim back out the door and through a pool of upside down dead bodies. Out of the proverbial frying pan and into the fire, they get beat up by one of the three storms before they're tied to wheelchairs and dropped off in a great hall. Then an ancient looking old man wheels into the room like Professor X. Jack says they're there to see David Lo Pan. The old man pretty much says you're looking at him. Krusty explains that only a green-eyed Chinese girl can make him young again, and he needs to marry her to appease the demon who has cursed him. Krusty glances over at the security monitors and sees Gracie, Eddie, and Margot in the lobby, and he's pissed. He leaves Jack and Wang sitting there as he hot wheels out to go deal with the new arrivals. The three are knocked out with gas, and Eddie is dropped off in the same holding room as Jack and Wang, who have already broken out of their restraints. All three are able to escape the room in one piece. Krusty learns they've escaped, and then we see him transform into the mystical Lo Pan that first confronted Jack in the alley. Lo Pan gets up from the wheelchair and starts gliding across the floor, right through furniture and the walls and into a room where Miao Yin is floating in the air. The three men fight their way to where a bunch of people are being held prisoner, including Gracie and Margot. They free everyone and barely escape by swimming through a tunnel. In the middle of all the danger, Jack is not one to miss an opportunity to put the moves on Gracie. But they're far from home free, though, as the next part of their escape route is blocked by a bunch of guards. Turns out Wang is a much better fighter than Jack, as he takes out a handful of guys before Jack can even get involved. Seems like Wang's been holding back this whole movie. Their goal is to make it outside where Egg is waiting with his bus, and the plan kind of works. Jack, Wang, and the rest all rush past the lobby guards and run to the bus. Of course, Gracie gets nosy and gets pulled inside a room by a long, hairy arm. As Egg drives them all to safety, they realize that not only did they not save Miao Yin, but that Gracie got left behind. She got abducted by some troglodyte Bigfoot-looking monster. Discount Chewbacca chains her up and Krusty Lo Pan wheels in. He gets all excited when he sees that Gracie has green eyes. Egg brings in some reinforcements and they all head out to go take down Lo Pan once and for all. Gracie is dropped into the same room as Miao Yin, and Lo Pan does some voodoo hypnosis on her. Egg has a bat pole at his place that leads down to the sewer tunnels under Chinatown. Back in the Grand Hall, Miao Yin and Gracie are under a trance as the three storms perform a weird dancing ritual for Lo Pan. From his throne, Lo Pan and the three storms use their magic to levitate the women up to the ceiling as they hang onto swords. They touch a white ball, and because they didn't die, Lo Pan decides he will marry both women. Now that's being just a bit greedy. Gracie and Miao Yin are now dressed up like geishas. When one of the storm dudes walks in and starts doing the lightning fingers things, the women's eyeballs turn solid white. Meanwhile, Jack and gang take a pit stop so that Egg can give them a history lesson and to grab a bottle of a magic potion. The women are led to their wedding ceremony, and the Egg Company makes their way down a hallway inside Lo Pan's lair. Along the way, they encounter a floating head with lots of eyes. Egg says whatever it sees, Lo Pan sees. And sure enough, Lo Pan tells his men that they have uninvited guests. When Lo Pan tells the storm dudes that Egg is among them, they actually look a little concerned. Lo Pan uses the floating head to talk to Egg. Like most villains, he takes a minute to describe his evil plan where he'll marry both green-eyed women but will sacrifice Gracie to break his curse and then live out his days in happiness with Miao Yin. Egg stops everyone and tells them it's time to take some medicine. He pours everyone a drink from his magic potion bottle and bottoms up. They walk in on the wedding just as it's underway. Of course, all the wedding guests are heavily armed, and Egg wants them to wait until after Lo Pan's married because then he'll be human and he can be killed. Eyeball Head spots them and it's on. Everyone turns on them and Gracie and Miao Yin both wake up from their trance. Jack actually manages to knock himself out before the fight even begins. He comes to just in time to see Lo Pan trying to complete the ritual. Lo Pan is actually giddy as the ritual is working. The blood coming from his fingertips proves he's becoming human. Then we get to watch Wang have a trampoline sword fight with one of the storms, while Egg and Lo Pan face off with what I can only describe as magical rock'em sock'em robots. They basically cancel each other out with their finger magic, so Lo Pan takes off with Miao Yin while Egg is distracted by the storms, leaving Wang, Jack, and Gracie to go after him. Lo Pan is flesh and blood now and only protected by one of the last storm dudes, Thunder. Wang distracts Thunder, giving Jack a chance to chuck a knife at Lo Pan. He misses by a mile, but it does allow Miao Yin to get away from Lo Pan. Tired of dealing with the pesky Jack, Lo Pan picks up his knife and sends it flying back at Jack. It's a good thing he drank that potion. Jack snatches the knife out of the air and fires it back at Lo Pan, where it goes right into his forehead. When he hits the ground, it's like an earthquake. All the statues in the hall start falling over like dominoes. Jack and Gracie just stand there looking at the damage when they suddenly realize they forgot all about Wang, who's running through the halls trying to get away from Thunder. Thunder chases Wang back into the main room where he sees Lo Pan laying there dead. He's so upset that his whole body starts to expand to the point where he just explodes. Dude really doesn't know how to handle his grief. They think the worst is over, but then the last storm guy shows up, Lightning. He's so busy showing off his little sparkle show that he gives them plenty of time to escape. Egg shows up with one of his Batman utility gadgets to help get them out. Lightning takes a big Buddha to the face and they get away. On their way out, Jack finally finds his truck, so they all jump in and get away just as the police and fire trucks pull up. They all celebrate their successful mission back at the restaurant. Margot and Eddie hit it off while Wang and Miao Yin are finally together, and Gracie flirts with the idea of going on the road with Jack. He plays hard to get and walks out without even kissing her goodbye. Jack drives off into the night on the Pork Chop Express. Just one with the road. Actually 2 with the road, as we see he has a stowaway. Yep, Dime Store Chewbacca is hitching a ride. Fade to black. I think this movie would have done better had it not been released on a July 4th weekend with lots of competition. Regardless of its box office showing, it's another great team-up between John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, and it eventually found a new audience on home video. Besides a great lead performance by Kurt Russell, I'd have to give kudos to the great James Hong as Lo Pan. His performance is perfect as both the mystical Lo Pan and crusty old David Lo Pan. Where would you rank this movie among the other Carpenter-Russell movies? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below to help grow this channel. I appreciate you taking time out of your day and hope you will come back for the next Back to the Feature.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.